geometries. I tried to research it from the scientific point of view, but I would like to present you some of the either speculation of mine or possibilities that which can be led to our next experiments. So, next slide please. We started with a structure that is triangular, that looks like a pyramid. Somebody says it's a hill, but we know it has construction material. It is a great geometric object which has its properties not only of the geometry but orientation and the mass. And what first comes in our mind in this situation is that that could be a kind of either device or antenna, because the question would be if there is some ancient civilization who built that, did it build it so large and big only for the purpose to manifest the power of the civilization, but could that be another more practical purpose, more economical, whatever, that justifies building of structure like that? Well, when we have a structure with a geometry, with some kind of relations between space and the material, which is built in layers in a manner that repeatedly follows a pattern either circular or alternating layers, one layer from the stone clay, and so on. Then we can say it could use, either it could be used to collect the environmental energy from the ground, from the outside. We don't know exactly where it comes from, but it could come from many places. And with the complex interaction of the material inside, please give me a slide, it could create a radiation of electromagnetic field which Dr. Slobodan Mizrak has actually measured a few years, maybe 2 years ago. Next slide. And what we found from that, and we come to the conclusion that with the complex interaction of the magnetospheric and piezoelectric effects in the materials which consists of, in the materials from which a pyramid consists of, a wave could be created. A wave is a manifestation of energy stored in a built structure which has a certain geometric, conductive, capacitive and inductive properties which could be obtained by carefully choosing the materials of the pyramid to build. The first theories were that it is a piezoelectric effect coming from the vibration on the ground. So we have macro earthquakes that happen all the time in the ground. Everything is vibrating in some way. And crystals, for example, quartz or something, if it is carefully aligned, can create electric field just from the mechanical acting on it. But it would be difficult to be built because we should have to align all the crystals in the spiral structure around the pyramid, coming like a coil from bottom to the top. The simplest way to do it is to use the magnetostriction effect. This is a similar effect to the piezoelectric when you are using mechanical force to a material that has something like iron, nickel stuff that is magnetic. If you hit it with mechanical force, it will produce the magnetic fields. So mechanical forces, if they come just from above and resonate this thing as a nonlinear oscillator, I will explain it later, the oscillator, we will create the magnetic fields coming along the beam that you see above, and this is what we can measure with our instruments. The next slide. I was looking in my research, what can I find with the other cultures and the other pyramids? Do they have some documentation or something that we can use in order to explain. This is a Dendera temple in the Egypt, which has inscription and carving stones that could have interpretation of the device that is electrical. Next slide. This is a carving in a stone. Let's consider this is a structure like a bulb or something, and there are silhouettes or symbols of the figures like that, and snake inside, and some strange symbols here. Well, let's look about to the next slide. It is maybe more intuitive here, because one of the German museum have built a device, replica, which of course nobody knows did it really look like that, but this is what we have seen on the picture. You have seen the bulb and some snakes, a box with something inside, and couple of the batteries. This is a bunch of batteries. You can have few metals, two metals and some kind of vinegar or whatever, and you can produce electricity. So brute force doesn't work on this device, and what is most intriguing here is the symbol like that. This one, the next slide, is a jet pillar. Jet pillar is a symbol used in pre-dynastic times in the ancient Egypt. Nobody really knows what did it represent initially. Later it was explained by the spine of Osiris or something, but I think that it should have some more technological meaning. This is the only symbol in this picture that resembles very symbolic and very schematic, like we use it on the normal electrical engineering. So I was looking at that symbol in this time, in this way. Let's say we have some kind of a wave, and the wave could have some kind of a length. So the complete height of this structure or symbol is determined of one wavelength. And these four divisions here are indicating division of the wavelength by 4. And this is the quarter wave resonator, in my opinion, schematically shown as a symbol. Next symbol. The purpose of the quarter wave resonator is the main function of the antenna. This quarter wave resonator is able to store energy in form of electromagnetic vibration for a longer time. Okay, this time is microseconds or some milliseconds, but it can store it and build a standing wave inside of it, which has special properties. Special properties of the wave is that with large current and low voltage on the bottom, we can produce enormous electric field on the top. Resonator like that can influence other resonators not directly connected to electric field, electric source of power, and the other resonator will, due to the standing wave that is created in the space, start resonating as well. The other example is what happens when we don't have the correct frequency. Only the correct frequency creates quarter wave resonance. This is a half wave resonance, and this is a no resonance here. Next slide. This is a probable description of how two jet pillars have been used as two resonators to transfer energy from one to another. So, in my opinion, this one should be the transmitter. There is a symbol symbolizing that they are meaning it seriously. Don't approach the device too close, away in the space. And this is a receiver. Some people or statues can then either utilize energy or whatever. I have done some Tesla wireless experiments, which actually gave me an idea of all this about. On the next slide is my experiment when I have build a homemade lambda quarter wave resonator. This one is transmitter. In proximity of the transmitter, a lamp could be lit just by approaching the transmitter. No other wiring is needed. And this is the receiver. A lamp in the receiver can light if the receiver is grounded. As well, grounded should be the transmitter too. They both are grounded by this radiator, but you can ground it anyhow. You don't need direct wiring in order for this to be lit. Next slide. This is the schematics of what it is actually: the generator, the coil of the transmitter, the capacitor. This is schematically shown as if the air becomes conductive in the presence of the wave. Actually, air doesn't get conductive at all. The real transmission is going through the ground. This is a reflection of conductivity in the ground.
What really caught my eyes on the transceiver, you could see the double eyes, the jet eyes. When they're both together, they symbolize like a frequency of the tetragrammaton, I think. And as you can see, there's another depiction and then another comparison right here. Wherever they're both depicted, it's like an equilibrium in their own symbolic language, it seems. And it's basically just going through another comparison. And then on the previous video where they talked about the transistor capacitor, I noticed it looked a lot like the things on bottom below the cherubim. And then I realized they're probably the exact same thing if you compare closer. You see they're almost like it's mechanical. And then I don't know who made this, but it's talking about the electric energy field that allowed them to carry and build the pyramids. And then the next photo it's of a 60-pound ball being levitated by frequencies from Dr. Hutchison. Or here's another Ankh depiction. And then raising the Djed, or the Djed pillar. I'm not sure if this is readable. I might have to transcript it.
Here we are at Saqqara. This is the famous step pyramid of Djoser. Djoser is a title to the king of the third dynasty, 2900 BC, roughly, said the books.
The step pyramid is located in a big courtyard, much older than the pyramid itself. And you can compare yourself with the same eye. You look at the pyramid and you look at the wall, you can see the difference.
These chunks of stone in front of Hakim are quartz crystal.
Then it reflects the crystal tile on the ground. This is what's left of it. This has been quarried by the natives in the area in the 17th century.
We see the remains of a quartz floor at Giza in the temple to the east of the second pyramid.
Now I'm pointing the Djed pillar, which is symbolizing one of the ancient gods, Osiris. And Jed is a word we still use to address the older people, like grandmother and grandfather, Jed. It goes back to the story of Osiris and his brother Seth, the bad guy, who put Osiris in a coffin, throw him in the ocean. The ocean took him place Phoenicia, Lebanon today, and there is the cedar tree grows, and the roots of the cedar tree captured this coffin. There it has been found by his beloved sister Isis. She cried, her tears touched his body, and they lived together again for a short while, short enough to make a baby with the name of Horus.
The story of Isis, Osiris, and Horus is fundamental to Egyptian cosmology. Isis is connected to the star Sirius, and Osiris is connected to the constellation of Orion. Horus is their prodigal son.
I'm going to take you now to see that hospital, the healing with the sound.
Stories about ancient healing techniques were passed down from generation to generation by the elders. Hakim explains how sound played a part in diagnosing and healing patients.
That line of construction, you see, like 3 chambers, it's what's left of the house of the spirit. And it's a healing system with a sound. It's a medical investigation table. And the patient have the right to use either side of the stairs. One on the right, one on the left. So he have to follow, or she have to follow her own antenna to climb up there and choose the point where she stands. Because each point is connected to a cheek chamber. We have 22 of them, 11 on each side, no ceiling. And when you go inside, you can see a niche where the physician put his head in the niche to see what's the matter with his patient laying on this table. And that works with the sound. And the sound source is running water in a tunnel underneath here. So it's a big map of tunnels underneath here.
Let's consider that the pyramid sites along Band of Peace are sophisticated harmonic structures, not only mirroring positions of the stars, but designed to replicate harmonic cavities of the human body. It seems that the chambers in the pyramids are harmonically tuned to a specific frequency or musical tone. Sound healing techniques were used to restore the patient's body to the correct harmonic within. This is the view of Abu Sir to the north of Saqqara, and here is the view of Dashur to the south.
Here we are on location at the Bent Pyramid. What you'll notice here is that the construction has 2 angles.
Traditional Egyptologists will tell you that the Egyptians were practicing building pyramids, and they started building at one angle, then changed their minds partway through. This is the kind of thinking that paints the ancient Egyptians as infantile and misguided. But is there another way of looking at it?
We call these constructions at that area in Dashur related to king called Senefru.
At Dashur, there are 3 pyramids with 3 burial chambers in each, 9 in total. Traditional Egyptology tells us that the entire site was built by Sneferu. If the established story that the pyramids are tombs is correct, why would Sneferu have needed so many?
Sneferu would have had 9 different possibilities and options for where he would have been buried, which again is illogical. So this comes back to the fact that understanding the Egyptians in terms of traditional Egyptology means that they were misguided and illogical. I don't think this was the case.
Now, when you come to the word Neferu, sin means double. Nefer is harmony, so it's double harmony. It's not a name of a person, but it's the energy we get from these constructions.
Let's consider that the pyramid sites along the Band of Peace are sophisticated harmonic structures. It seems that the chambers in the pyramids were harmonically tuned to different frequencies or musical tones.
The big pyramid, it has two chambers for two different sounds.
Each chamber in each pyramid, then, could be exemplifying sound technology with distinct tones, creating huge fields of harmonic resonance.
What's interesting is the Great Pyramid really has 8 sides to it. And this is an explanation right here. And it seems similar to the shape of a superconductor, as if the shape of the pyramid was an actual conducer of the energy. And then here's a crop circle in a magnetic field pattern. And this is a Thoth time temple, and it shows when the intersection of the heaven and earth energies. And this reminds me of the, if you combine them both, it'd be like the Enneagram reflected in itself. And this is a crop circle that is similar to the concept, like a as you could see, you have to have resonant, mutually reinforcing waves, and it reminded me of this crop circle, and it's an example of, it reminds me of an example of a galaxy in the same code that it'd form within a vesica Pisces, like in it'd form the basic pattern of the galaxy, and then if you deflect it around, if you imagine like a Pong game or something, and it seems to like deflect nicely into this pattern. And I'm wondering if it could be like, since there's 10 lines, if it could be related to the Kabbalah. You see, I just did the Roji Biv, and then the last 3 lines, 7 colors plus 3 white lines, and the little dots are possibly the planets, like the little node points between frequency vibrations where planets would coalesce within the whole electromagnetic sphere of the sun, which goes way past the planets. And then here's the Platonic solids around a pentagram, and then Metatron's cube with the flower of life in the middle. And then here's Metatron. As you could see, that the Star David would project as a cube onto a surface from its shadow. And then the Metatron, supposedly the Metatron is Enoch transfigured, and then it seems like it'd be synonymous to the lesser face in Kabbalah as compared to the greater face of the greater pattern, the Tetragrammaton. Another example of the octave. And then here is square into the circle, or the feminine and masculine, heaven and earth. As you can see, like it generates down into a pattern that mathematically correlates with more complicated patterns. And the octave, as you can see, were mentioned previously. And all these temples seem to be the ancients' knowledge of mind, of the mind and the body, consciousness, with as above, so below, pretty much. Like all the structures reflected the macrocosm connected to the microcosm, like a fractal of a giant universal, like holographic body or mind. And here's the planetary alignment of the Great Pyramids as a depiction of the same code. And then here's where Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun, lines up. And then here's another key where the Egyptians were measuring time and space with their own volume and whatever. And right here, I was studying the Sefer Yetzirah, and I was trying, which, remember, Nassim Haramein said the Sefer is representative of the sapphire, and I tried to make the face, and as well as put the 22 sides around a sphere, but I couldn't actually do it. And here's Pythagoras with his 2 by 3, or was it 3 by 4 by 5 triangle? And then you could see it right here within the Great Pyramid. And the Great Pyramid is an example of the octave of the Holy of Holies. So then I found this and I flipped it upside down, and it reminded me of like the mouth of, and as you can see, I just drew the lip and the chin from 2. If you think about it, when you get 3 of them intersecting, you get the 2, the nostril part. And then I was studying this, and I'll decode all 3, the connections in later videos, but this really caught my eye. And then, because it looked like pretty much like this, whatever, it's some kind of hemisphere bowl or some kind of light refraction, or I can't remember where it's from. If anybody knows, just leave it in the comments. Here's another connection I found, and it has something to do with the planets. I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but it represents the planets, some kind of astrological. And here's the comparison to the Kabbalah Tree of Life. And I tried to match them up, and it seemed like it fit somewhat. Maybe I'm going out on a limb too much, but it seemed like an interesting correlation. And then it really struck me as similar to the Mandelbrot set, where it's like a fractal as well. And then it's basically the symmetry of the flower of life with concentric circles. Then I realized, I wonder if it's related to the Lagrange points. And then I flipped it over, and then it seemed similar, maybe, possibly. So back to the Ecuador pyramid, it seems like the ancients, they left all this stuff and it eventually be decoded, and like this, the vector equilibrium plus the vesica Pisces, whatever, with the eye in the middle, could be what the pyramid of the capstone is trying to say. Like, it's the mathematic that the ancients used was their unified field theory. And this is another Ecuador. I think it's a macrocosm coming out into the microcosm, or vice versa. And this is magnetic in the middle, and then it's similar to this nebula. And then here's a crop circle, which is similar to a magnet, as you can see right here. A donut-shaped magnet produced this, and then it seems to be fractal as well, as you can see, larger and larger triangles. As you can see, as long as you have enough energy to pump in it, then it'll expand and then it'll be fractal, and this would probably go into like a 6-sided hexagon pyramid. And then what's interesting is the cross culture is the symbol for water, and it also could mean electromagnetic force, energy. And then here's the Cialdini figures, and it's more like a one-dimensional, since it's one wave. And then here we have the same, it's one wave as well, but if you combine two waves, it'll form the more complex figures, such as the Jenny experiments. And this is the copy from the Roswell glyph found, and they seem to depict like code symbols of energy and matter behavior, which are similar to this, which are the effects of electrons within a electron cloud or something. And then this is found in Egypt in comparison to the Roswell beam, the same symbols, which possibly are actual depictions of light and sound and matter, and the same language that would possibly go on between the neuron firing of brain, between neurons, electrochemical language. And then, as you can see, reiterating it's the segments of possibly of a spiral. That was a divine language. what's pretty interesting here is that scientists are figuring out that the same language, the same coding of DNA is almost similar to the syntax of language. And his studies are on disease propagation, which makes me think, I wonder if they're like AIDS could be harmonically tuned out of the body. And then this is a comment, and then it reminded me of the Einstein-Rosen bridge detected in DNA as like radiation, and then it seems like a macrocosmic fractal connection. This also reminded me of the Norway spiral. And I don't know the legitimate claim of the video, if it actually is that, but it seems like it could be. But this footage is really crappy, but you could, if I get a better clip, you could see two different spirals in opposite waves. Like one is inside the other. It's like a bluish on the inside, and it's opening looks like a portal. This is another Ecuadorian artifact, and it's magnetic in the middle, so it's a depiction of probably the vortex within a tetrahedron. And it reminded me of this. It's the same pattern in Norris spiral, and there's a crop circle exactly like this. And it reminded me of the Egyptian, I'll just get onto that after. And then here's like a yin-yang depiction of the winter solstice, summer solstice, and then this is a video from Danny Witcherin or something, but I'd like to credit him. And then it seemed like a similar connection like that. So then it reminded me of the Egyptian eye, so I kind of put them in the segments that the Egyptian eye would be, as in the Eye of Ra, and its depicted divisions, and it seemed like it fit similar, like the middle and the two sides of the eye, as in 1/4, 1/2, and 1/16. It seems like it's doubling, and then I compared it to the vortex eye, and it reminded me of what I drew on my basketball, and it's like the yin yang with the eye and a bunch of little. Anyway, that's my video, and this is some more 64 tetrahedron, vector equilibrium, crop circles. Anyway, just put your comments and questions, and also I'll probably be posting more stuff pretty soon. I have a lot more stuff to post. This is just kind of a small part of it.